Good afternoon. Bonjour, Annie. My name is Kimberly Wahama Deshane, and I'm the Operations and Events Manager with Northern Ontario Angels. And today I will be your moderator. Just a few Zoom items before we get started. I would ask that you please mute your audio and video channels as you come in. Please provide your questions in the chat or video at the end of the presentation. We will be recording this event to share on our social media and website. Welcome to an in-depth conversation with Brad Gregorini, President of N1 Solutions, Inc. While we are meeting virtually hosted from Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, we would like to acknowledge that we are in the Robinson-Huron Treaty, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territories of the Atitmachine, Anishinaabe, home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the Métis Nation. We also acknowledge all the traditional lands on which all of you in attendance gather today. Everyone here will be entered into a draw for a one-on-one dinner with Brad to discuss business development, entrepreneurship, and building a brand. We will announce the winner at the end of the presentation. I would like to introduce Brad Gregorini, who will be our presenter today. Brad Gregorini is a community-minded entrepreneur born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie. He is known for his ability to think strategically, see trends, and has grown the N1 Solutions brand and business into more than just a security company. Gregorini bought Norpro Security and Investigations in 2013, rebranded in 2021 to N1 Solutions, Inc., and has expanded their client base and new product lines significantly. When Gregorini took over the company, they started with 15 people and today is a company with over 150 employees. As an entrepreneur, Gregorini's goal is to improve the business climate in Northern Ontario. As a father of 4 girls, he is investing in the future state of the economy and works to improve community safety, trust, and being the business that provides a one-call response for all business needs. Please welcome Brad Gregorini.
Thank you, Kim, for the introduction. I'm excited to be here to share some of the lessons I've learned over the past 8 years and I'm looking forward to the engaging conversation. I thought before that we get started, I would hand it over to Jessica Tett just to give the audience a better understanding of who Norpro transformed into coming to become N1 Solutions. So I'll just send it over to Jess.
Thanks, Brad. So just to kind of give an overview, I know Kim kind of did a little bit of an intro as to who we are as an organization and really what we do. But I just wanted to give a little bit more detail into what has been developed over the last 8 years and what Brad has really built from when he first purchased the company. So if we get into the first thing that I just want to really highlight is security is really our base. So when we started in 1980, it was founded as Norpro Security and Investigations. And since that time, we fast forward to 2013 when Brad purchased the company. Like Kim said, there was 15 employees. We've now built that to over 150 employees. And it's really a great success for the entire team here. So along with the huge build of human capital within the organization, we have diversified into what we'll kind of get into in the next steps, but we rebranded in February of 2020 because we really recognize that the importance of not just having the Norpro brand anymore and really becoming a whole service company and understanding that, you know, we want to provide solutions to customers, and rebranding it to N1 Solutions, Inc. really just made sense for us. So another part of the security division as well is that in 2018, we launched Anishinaabe Total Security Solutions, which is a majority-owned Indigenous company through our partnership with Pick-Lobert First Nation. So that's kind of where we've come from. In terms of innovation, we basically made innovation the top company, and everything else that we do underneath innovation falls below. So for example, Norpro Technology, which was a company that was acquired in 2017, we rebranded that company into Norpro Tech. And in 2018, the company acquired Unique Data Systems, which is our IT division. So in 2021, the reason that, those two things really fell under the innovation model. And so we rebranded it to be Norpro Innovation to include both the tech and IT service offerings and divisions. So from there, the most recent buckets that we have under N1 include N1 Strategy and Norpro Environmental. So in late 2020, we introduced N1 Strategy, which offers services in project management, back office support, business development, and professional advisory. And in July of 2021, we introduced Norpro Environmental, which is our newest service offering, which right now we do 24/7 spill response, environmental remediation, and asbestos and mold services. So it really gives you a full picture of exactly what we do. And I think this slide really highlights all of that to really explain each of the service offerings and divisions and companies that fall under the N1 Solutions brand. So I'm going to pass it back over to Brad to provide some lessons and insight into what has gone into building this company since 2013.
Thanks, Jess. As we sit here today, I'm really excited to just see, how fast the N1 Solutions brand has grown. We went from just about approximately 15 employees, as Jess said, to over 150 staff members in 8 years. And this allows me to come and speak to everyone today about some of the lessons I've learned. It's really humbling that everyone would take time out of their day to come and listen. So thank you. It's not just an individual effort. It's my team, and it's the journey of my team that has allowed me to be here and I'm surrounded by great people.
Recording in progress.
Sorry?
If you could just mute yourself when you enter the room, it'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
So in preparing to speak with everyone, I went through some of the lessons that I'd like to talk about and then engage in conversation with the group. So get out your pens. Secret sauce number 1 is about to come out. These are some of the takeaways from my journey over the 8 years. So it's outwork everyone, work smarter, learn from your mistakes, and don't be afraid to take chances. Some of the things people have told me along my journey is being an entrepreneur is a lifestyle. It's not a job. It's not a 9 to 5. You're on 24/7, 365 days a year. And one of the most important things I've learned early on was the significance of creating meaningful partnerships, relationships. And in order to do that, my tip to everyone would be, you need to create relationships to have an ask. In the past, I've learned people will choose a company, choose your product, choose you because of the relationships that you formed. This is from community relationships to government relationships, other businesses. You need to have that relationship in order for them to trust you and in order for them to buy your products. So it's also true to your employees. You want to have an engaging, meaningful relationship with all of your employees. They need to be nurtured in order for you to succeed. So success is worked for every day to be achieved. Nothing is just handed over. There's no accident how people got to where they are. Entrepreneurs must work tirelessly along their journey, sometimes at a sacrifice of friends, family, and other events that you have to go to. I would say take chances on people and truly empower them to be their best selves. Have the candor to talk direct without putting them down, but let people know where they stand and how they need to improve, which leads me to my next tip, which is give people your undivided attention. Be in the moment, listen actively, provide valuable feedback. In today's world, technology is everywhere. Sometimes we have tendencies to pick up our phone when it dings and not be present and, half listen. So give what you get and pay attention, be involved, take time to foster true connections. Part of, on my journey here before us today is I believe in being mentored. I belong to a group called CO Global. And for myself, it's a spot where I get mentorship and I get to build relationships with other senior executives from across Canada and North America, where we get to share knowledge and learn from each other's mistakes. And basically they get to check my backswing, make sure everything, this is what I'm thinking. And we've got a great team, but it's always nice to have a very trusted group of colleagues that you can run ideas by. So in speaking, a lot of times I hear, they've gone to school and we want to hire great staff. And, a lot of people have the MBA acronyms and gone to an Ivy League, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for educations, which is fantastic. But while you're there, it's not the school, it's the connections that you're gaining while you're in these programs. It's the connections that are going to further your career down the road. And that's something that we've paid attention to, that I've paid attention to, and that I talk to our team about on a regular basis. Some of the other lessons in giving people meaningful relationships is do your homework, be prepared, know who you're talking to, ask engaging questions. The knowledge is power, and the more you know about someone in their company and their needs, the more you can have an engaging conversation. It's one of the first things I did when purchasing Norpro was to create a roadmap. Not always articulated out to the rest of the team. We're doing a much better job at that as of late, but that's creating a roadmap so you can measure your success, which would be one of, I guess, another tip is just creating that. Share with your team your common vision so they know where you're going. It will help you, the entrepreneur, get there faster. It will help engage people. It'll empower them to make the necessary decisions in their own sectors or the divisions that you've put people in charge of, and it'll allow them to work towards the common goal. So create a plan that people can understand, measure. It should be tracked so you know that you're hitting your successes. Take chances on people. I think I touched on that, but you really want to empower people to do their best, good or bad. Sometimes there's a miss, but it's a lesson learned, and it'll move your whole organization along a lot further. When I'm talking with staff, I think we empower them to make the decisions, right or wrong. Lessons are learned. Listening to ideas, not being afraid to pivot off of our ideas is also another good thing for your roadmap to success. I think create freedom to deviate from the roadmap, and I think Jess can touch on that. But if we're not going the right way, or someone in our organization sees a different way to do things, people around us are free to pivot and make decisions that will help keep us aligned into our vision, into where we're going. So it really comes down to tracking and following that roadmap.
And I think too, if I can just jump in quickly, for me, a huge part of the reason that I enjoy working here is because of the autonomy that's given and the ability to really build the culture and be part of the change. So a roadmap for success might look different to a lot of organizations, but I think that the people here have a lot of autonomy to really express what they want to do in their job and in their career, because being here is not just a job. It's definitely, for me anyway, speaking for myself, it's more of a career. And for me, that's part of, what I value in my success as well, which then, builds the success of the company at the same time.
Absolutely. So we strive to build that culture, and where people are free to express themselves, and which also, ties back into our culture is giving back to the community. I think that's something that should be done along your journey. So part of what I believe in is giving back to the communities where we do business, and into the communities we do business. Our primary focus for the next 2 years has been North Bay to Thunder Bay, the Bay to Bay strategy, as we call it. And so a lot of times I hear people in conversations or just in talk saying, once they become successful or once they get to their financial goals, that they'll give back or they can afford to do something for the community. And my personal belief is you need to be engaged in the beginning. It's kind of like saving money as a child. You put a little bit away each time, it creates good habits, and we want to do that. And we encourage, actually, in today's meeting, we launched our corporate strategy for giving back to the communities and allowing each employee up to 7 hours of company time to achieve a community action item that is important to them. So we're really adopting this in a big way. So just to wrap that little part up on tip 4 of the giving, time is one of your most valuable commodities. This is something that I've learned along my journey of the 8 years. Time is more valuable than money. So be cautious of where you spend your time, how you give your time out. The further along your company and how it grows, you'll really have to rely on your team and everyone around you, and be conscious of your time. That manage your time properly. I think we had a quote yesterday of manage time.
Yeah, managing time is about managing time, which may sound a little bit silly, but it's definitely a great point to make and just a great way to move you forward.
So my last tip or lesson would be, proving people wrong. One of the lessons that I've learned, and it's evident today, as you grow a business, we live in smaller communities, and when we're doing something not different, not the same way as other people are doing it, scrutinizing, there'll be a lot of different conversations had around your organization, some good, some bad. Cut through the noise, prove people wrong, continue to work hard. Not everyone is going to like you, and stay your course. That's the best way to turn the negativity or the negative vibes out there into positives and accomplish what you're doing.
So we're just going to get into a couple questions that we got from the audience before today's event. So the first one being, your business was originally known as Norpro Security and has grown into a much larger organization, N1 Solutions Inc., because of your success. Please share with the audience the challenges you faced along the way. So I'll hand it over to Brad to answer that question.
So some of the challenges in reflecting upon this, to go back 8 years, which doesn't seem, it feels like an eternity here, but it really is not that long of a time ago. But some of the challenges were finding the right people to do the right jobs. When I first started, and I'm sure this is true to many entrepreneurs or other business people on the call today, you tend to pick people from your circle, that friends or family or just other close colleagues, and fit people into the buckets that you think you need to move along. So it's really, take the time, vet, chart where you're going, kind of what we talked about in our first takeaway lessons. So when you start out, you're able to build for your future and start looking to where you want to go. One of the things that, when I first started, we didn't really do I did not do an overly good a job of, was managing the expectations. So as we sit here today, prior in today's meeting, fun thing for Norpro, now N1 Solutions, we're going to be on our 5th move to a larger space. So in 8 years, we will have moved 5 times to accommodate our growth. So it's doing a job of a good job. And if that's, some of the challenges, anticipate your space needs, anticipate where you're going and what your needs will be, that will allow you to accomplish what you need to do without as many moves as we've had to do. Our new home, we're pleased, will have the space for us to continue expanding without having to relocate. So that's one of our big challenges. Another big challenge to growth that, when we first started out was having access to banks and the funds required to grow your business. We started off when I took Norpro over in August 1st of 2013. It was a small business doing very little in significant revenue. And when you start driving that revenue in, the banks tend to get scared and pull their umbrella away really quick. It reminds me of when I first took over that first week, fantastic. We go out and landed 2 major security contracts. And that's great that we landed 2 security contracts, but payroll was coming up. And, that was one of those unexpected challenges of not running my own company before. And then, well, how does payroll work? And it's a lesson that I had to learn on the fly. ADP at the time when I started takes the money days earlier than actual payday. So ensuring that you had to manage cash on hand. So, thankfully we never missed pay. We didn't miss payroll, but digging into your savings account and the bank helping you out as well. Those are some of the biggest challenges that we had in the very, very beginning. So we've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and we've learned from them, and we don't continue to repeat them. And I think that's what makes us a little bit different, is taking the chance, good or bad, having a mistake, and then being able to move on.
Great, thanks, Brad. So we're just going to pop into question 2. Just so you know, there will be a question period at the end, but we just wanted to incorporate some of the questions that we got beforehand into the presentation, but there will be a question period in a little bit. So the second question that we received is, can you further explain the innovation division and environmental company part of N1S? What is your vision for each as it relates to your other business pillars?
So N1, Norpro Security, Norpro Environmental, Norpro Innovation Strategy, and there'll be a 4th quarter reveal as well. These are all silos within our organization and that operate under the one common brand, supporting our one call to
Respond to it all.
Exactly. And with that, the common thread amongst all of our organizations and the pillars that we have are the same client group. So we're servicing the same client groups. We're becoming a valued partner, and that's building those relationships and partnerships where they can rely on you for more than one service. And it makes their job easy as purchasers, buyers, companies. We basically now have the ability to solve from your security needs to your IT, which works with security, environmental. It's a blended model approach that we now are servicing all of your pillars that you would need to operate your own companies. So innovation is a huge part of the future. As we sit around, we see autonomous cars coming. We see, in the news, robots taking over some jobs, and we want to be on the leading edge of that. So that's where our innovation comes.
So the third question that we received before we take other questions is, what advice or recommendations would you provide any startup business specifically related to business expansion? Brad?
So I'll be very pointed to the point. So surround yourself with the right people, that is in business and in your personal life. Good partners and good teammates. Do a good job in articulating your vision to make sure that things align with the people in your organization. Tell as many people as you can about where you're going and how you're getting there. It's what holds you accountable. It's what holds me accountable. Talking about it makes it a reality for me. Don't be afraid to take chances. Anything will work as long as you set your mind to it, and we're proof. you've had the courage to step up and do something that most people don't. So as an entrepreneur or a business owner, kudos to you, and take chances. And lastly, don't ever stop or quit on your dream.
Thanks so much, Brad. I'm going to pass it over to Kim to ask the questions that might be in the chat and just have some final comments.
Thank you very much, Brad and Jessica. We do have a few questions in the queue. So let me start. Did you have any particular experiences growing up that inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
So I would say yes. My grandfather, both my family comes from working in the steel mill. My whole family did. But outside of that, my grandfather actually owned properties and apartment rental business. So I grew up working in that and understanding, getting the call at 8 o'clock at night that your pipe is leaking. I remember as a young boy, I think I was under 10 years old, learning. My dad and grandfather showed me how to solder a pipe because I was the small enough person to fit between the floor to go and solder a pipe that was leaking in the building. So I grew up with in I guess an entrepreneur family.
Thank you. We have another question. Of your staffing of 150 people, what percent work for the security business? And second, how much has your revenue grown since you began this diversification into N1 Solutions?
Great questions. So the lion's share of our employees do operate out of our security business. I can say that in our new move we're actually moving back to the downtown core of Sault Ste. Marie. And in our move, we're going to be moving 45 people into our new office space. So that's all support and tech people. Percentage of revenue growth, we just actually tallied it up and it was over 99% year over year this year.
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years. Yeah. This year alone, we're up 68% from last year. So we have a very aggressive growth strategy and targets. And we've set some very lofty stretch targets in our 3-year strat plan, and we are tracking them through KPIs and other metrics to ensure that we hit them.
And another question, was your business affected like other businesses in the North under COVID-19?
Definitely certain pillars were affected. The IT, the technology team were basically at home because that's all field services work in the beginning. Security work peaked, and that's what's really unique about our business model. So during the beginning stages of COVID-19, security work went up, while the other revenue lines dropped down. So we have a very managed approach, and it allows us a lot of flexibility to keep our revenue streams moving along in different as different things come up, such as the pandemic or different market cycle segments.
We have another question. Is there any future expansion in other areas in Northern Ontario or Canada generally?
So we have a 3-year, which is now going into 2-year beta-based strategy. We're always looking for opportunities that fit into our pillars. And so, yes, our end game, we're just about to go on a strategic retreat and with our senior management team and cast out what is going to be looking after the beta-based strategy is done, which I would suspect would encompass coast to coast.
Do we have any further questions? Okay, it is draw time. So the winner of a one-on-one dinner with Brad goes to Robert. Robert, are you there?
Does that mean I get to pick the restaurant of my choice?
That you do. That you do. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay.
Nice
So
to see
I'll
you.
probably learn more from you than me, so it'll be good.
Wonderful. Congratulations, Robert. I'm sure you'll have an enjoyable dinner. So thank you.
Sorry, just quickly, I did see another question that came in that actually was just directed to me. I'll just pose it.
Yes, for sure.
To make sure we get everyone.
Absolutely.
So the question was, can you speak to the financial pieces? So how do you manage when you have a great idea but don't have the funds in the short term? This is something that has always held me back because I am risk averse.
So, great question. I think part of it is looking at each situation or each expansion and then finding out a way to do it. Sometimes, we've been able to grow or expand our business with a strategic partner, someone that might bring the funds or bring the ability to generate the funds. And it's difficult, but it's really each specific opportunity. And then we're fortunate on staff. We do now have 3 CPAs that guide me and provide alternative solutions, and we're able to vet, execute, and turn these scenarios into revenue generation relatively fast. And I think that having multiple pillars, I know from having multiple pillars such as security, innovation, environmental, strategy, we're able to use those other pillars for our revenue streams to always be able to look at new opportunities. So 80% of our time and our manager's time is focused on what needs to be done, and 20% is forward-looking, what blue sky that we can attract, or how do we evolve to become better.
Okay, and we have a question from Deidre. You'd like to go on audio for that?
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. Brad, thank you for all of the golden nuggets that you have just been presenting. I am writing my notes, and I can't do both and type in the chat at the same time, but thank you so much. I just wanted to ask you, what does it look like for you to anticipate their space needs? You're anticipating the space needs. So when you're looking for a building, a physical building or so, what does that look like, the ability to be able to purchase more space as needed?
So I traditionally, I like bricks and mortar. I like to acquire buildings, but it also acquiring buildings to grow requires significant down payment. You're typically giving 25% of your cash flow out to tie up that asset. And part of our strategy with our CFO sitting down was over the next 3 to 5 years, we need to be looking at leasing some space out that is flexible, and it allows us that growth. So I had owned the building on Queen Street, moved to a building that I own at a different location, each time expanding space, giving us an additional 25 to 3,000 square feet of space for people. And it has been, with our success, which is fantastic, it's kudos to the team around me, but we're always having to add bodies. And the COVID work from home is not really in our workplace right now. People have the ability to work from home, but they want to be in where the action is every day. I think that's helped us through the pandemic, is being deemed essential and having some of the staff in, obviously with safe distancing measures, but we're looking at acquiring space while people are looking at decreasing their footprints. And I think that it'll come back. So I would suggest, looking at where you want to go, having some chats, get involved in peer mentor group, people that've done it. If you'd like to email me offline, feel free. And I'd love to have those discussions about how best to anticipate. It's still something that I'm learning myself.
Thank you so much. If I may ask one more, and I think this is a big one, what is the pivot point for you that said that you need to acquire this IT company versus hiring in-house?
So at this end, it's no real secret out in the public. N1 moves lightning fast. We are a fast growing company. And when we hire out, that has tended to slow us down, and it has allowed us not to hit our goals. So when back when we acquired IT and innovation, it was to service our own need internally. And each of our divisions, our companies, they're primarily were acquisitions to support our own growth. But then we were able to turn them into a revenue generating center by having very select clients that we're able to service.
Kim,
Awesomeness, thank you.
sorry. That's everything from me.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everyone for participating in our conversation with Brad and Jessica today. Thank you to our NOA funding agencies, FedNor and NOHFC, and our partners, BDO, Bearskin and Parr LLP, Motion Arc Studios, N1 Solutions Inc., Firedog Communications, and Squint Inc. You can find us on social media and sign up for our quarterly e-newsletter at northernontarioangels.ca. You can also find N1 Solutions on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube at their website at n1solutions.ca. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Stay safe. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.